folks, how you guys doing? Hope you're all having a great day today. These are some of the cutting boards that I made for Christmas, and I learned a lot while making these cutting boards, not necessarily the boards themselves, but personalizing them. Each one of these boards has a juice groove on top, and the bottom side is personalized on the CNC machine. So that's pretty much what I'm going to cover today, is personalizing the bottom side of these. I made all of these blanks, cutting board blanks, a while ago, and waited till I had a little bit better equipment here in the shop to mill all of them flat and square, four sides and all that stuff. I have one left that I'm going to make a logo cutting board, basically. So the icon for my logo, I'm going to make it out of this and then give it away tomorrow at a meetup. So let me first bring you in close and show you basically what I learned while making all of these. All these boards were created with scrap wood at various different lengths, so the shape of these boards is all various different sizes. This one's a little bit too horizontal for my liking, but that's what I came up with as far as the scrap pieces, so that's what it is. All of the pieces all these cutting boards have a juice groove on the top, and what I settled with for the juice groove is to have the center line of the groove 3/4 of an inch in from the end or from the edge. The depth of the juice groove is 0.2 inches. It's cut with a 1/2 inch diameter ball nose bit, and no radius is added to this rectangle. I just offset the overall size 3/4 of an inch in and used that as the path to cut this juice groove. Very basic. Those are the dimensions I settled on. Some of these are different dimensions, but that's what I'm going to use going forward. So because this is the juice groove, this is the top side, which means the bottom side is something we can personalize. And this was the first one that I did. I learned a lot on this one. This one is cut at full depth. It's just a regular VCarve toolpath. So there's no flat bottom depth, and it just goes as far deep as it needs to go so that it cuts the entire vector. So here in the rose part up here, it's quite deep because the area is rather large, versus this line's not so deep in comparison, or these. Now I learned something with this one. I used a bit that I did not like. This has a flat bottom, a rather large, about 1/16 of an inch flat bottom to the V bit, which means it's not going to cut deep on stuff that doesn't have a lot of area inside it. So I don't know if you could even see it. That's how bad it is. I put some detail in these corners, and all four corners are symmetrical, but the flat bottom bit did not go as deep as I would want to because, well, it's flat bottom, so you don't get as much detail here. And that was a flat bottom 90-degree bit. This would be much more visually striking and show up a heck of a lot better if A, I just reduced my Z-axis to cut this deeper, or B, used a true V bit, and instead of a 90-degree, switched over to like a 60-degree. So lesson learned there. Something else that I learned was if I put something in the corners, then I could very easily just eyeball the placement of these feet to get them nice and symmetrical. But I figured, well, the machine's cutting anyway, so why not put some dots there going forward so that I know exactly where to cut. So lesson learned, or exactly where to put these feet. Lesson learned, learned a little bit on this one. So I'll set that aside. After that, I cut this particular one, which this one I did not use. Let's see. No, this is the same bit. This is the same bit. I apologize. It has that same flat bottom, but I stayed away from anything that had very, very small detail so that all of this could be cut and it could all be seen very easily. So this is the bottom side. Again, I don't have anything in the corners to reference the feet placement, so I just had to measure and drill these out and install them like so. Set that aside. After that one, I believe the next one was this one, and I determined that, well, an easy way to locate the feet was to cut a frame all the way around. So this frame is 1/2 of an inch in from all sides, just like the juice groove. I took the perimeter, offset 1/2 of an inch in VCarve, and used that as a profile path for the V bit. That gives me a perfect corner to place all of these feet, and it worked out well. What I learned from this is it's a true VCarve, so there's no flat bottom here, but the V bit that I was using for this one does not have a flat bottom. It goes to a true point. but the overall carving width is only 1/4 of an inch. It's just a solid piece of carbide, a 1/4 inch piece of carbide. So to cut this larger area here, it has to take multiple passes stepping down. And as it takes those multiple passes, it leaves a little bit of ridges there, just based upon the settings that I had. So to prevent the ridges from being there, you can obviously sand it out when you're done, but a larger cutting diameter bit would take care of that. Lesson learned there. Set this one aside. And then at the time, the coolest one that I thought I did was this one right here. This is 3 vectors stacked. The trees in the background is 1 free vector I found online. This banner is 1 free vector I found online. Maybe I paid for this one. I'm not exactly sure. And then also this deer I found online. And the name here, what I did is in VCarve, you can make text and put it on an arc. So I drew an arc that was the same radius as the bottom side of this banner, put it in place, and then made this text go about that arc and just modified it a little bit so that it looks like it's inside this banner. Deleted the arc, and then, I don't know if you can see it, but there's an offset from this banner by about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And I just offset, except for this deer here, I just offsetted this, is that a word? I offset the perimeter of this banner to create another vector, and then used that vector as an area to subtract from the trees. That way there's just a clear visual separation between this banner and these trees. Very easy to do in VCarve. And also, we continued with this perimeter here, this frame, but I made the mistake on this one of using the profile toolpath with the V-bit, and I set it to cut on the line. Instead, what I should have done is cut it inside the line so that the edge of the V-bit would be touching this path with the entire bit being on the inside. And I don't know if it's going to show up on camera. The reason I should have done that is this line over here, there's a little bit of a ridge. It's kind of like a shadow line where the cut to remove this tree doesn't quite line up with the profile, just based upon having the V profile, or the the V bit running on the profile rather than inside it. So a little bit of a lesson learned there. And at this point, I was kind of disliking the fact that the frame kind of just terminates underneath these screws. It doesn't really look finished. Kind of just looks like I don't know. It just doesn't look as good as what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to look like. So after that, I went to these, made both of these. This one is a vector I bought off of Etsy as far as this horse farm scene. A simple name over there and a couple of little decoration pieces up on top. But what I did for the feet is I made the frame, put a circle right at the endpoints of that frame, and then kind of combined those vectors so you can see it kind of wraps around all the way around. That means I lost my center point or the corners for the feet. Well, at that point, all I did was cut or create a 1/8 of an inch diameter circle that goes in that exact location where these two lines intersect, and that 1/8 of an inch circle can be just set to the same VCarve toolpath as this, and it will just basically create a little point that the screw will go into when I go to attach the feet. So I like this offset here. I like everything about this. It turned out really, really well. So with that being said, I made another one. We've got another nollie here. This particular one, let me back up to this one once more. This one, just to save speed or just to save time here, I don't have a lot of large area vectors. So this one was, again, a 60-degree full V-carve, no flat bottom, and it cut really, really fast. If you try to set a flat bottom or a flat depth with a V-carve toolpath, and you don't have enough area to fit a like a 1/4 inch end mill or an 1/8 of an inch end mill to remove a lot of material, then what you're going to do is have that V bit just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, trying to create a flat bottom. It's going to be really, really slow. So I remember on this particular one, taking the flat bottom out and just setting it up as a straight V-carve, ended up cutting the carving time in half. So that's fine. It didn't go down too deep on that one. The last one here, last one, there's 2 left. This is the next one. This one has a lot of large area vectors, closed vectors. So for this one, I did set a flat bottom depth of I think about 0.08 inches and used the 1/4 inch end mill to remove a lot of the material. But with the VCarve, you can get a tremendous amount of detail. Like, look at all the little details in this guy's shirt here. Guy, girl, whoever this is driving this tractor. But yeah, it turned out great. Also, I continued that same exterior profile around the feet, and that worked out really well, having those little center dots to locate the screws for the feet. This turned out great. And the last one that I did was another little farming scene, and this one I experimented with the offset radius here for the feet, and I increased it. I don't remember what it was, but I don't like this nearly as much as the previous ones. So I'll put these side by side and you can see the 2 differences in the radius. I like the tighter one much better, although I might be minority in that situation because everyone I've shown in person prefers the radius that is larger. But anyway, this is everything that I learned from cutting these. So now let's go to the computer and cut my logo into this one. Here in VCarve, I've got a couple things already set up. So my job size, or my job setup is already set to the size of the cutting board, and all that's good to go. I also have 3 extra layers down here: the perimeter, the juice groove, and then VCarve, and that's just so I can simply turn them on or off so I don't accidentally select them. Not 100% necessary, but it helps. So from here, I am on the VCarve layer. I'm going to open up my logo. I'm just going to drag and drop the icon into the workspace here. As of right now, these are all independent pieces, so I want to select them all. And let's go to, actually I can just press M for move and then grab this corner and scale it up somewhat like that. That it is close enough to the full width. It's not going to be the full height, obviously, but I need it to be centered, so the easiest way to do that is just press F9 and it'll center it on the job. That's good to go. Now this is going to be my profile. So while it is selected, I'm going to right click and say move to layer, perimeter, profile perimeter. It's going to be my perimeter. This cutting board is not going to be rectangular. It's going to be shaped the same size as this icon. And then all of this is going to be the VCarve. A couple things we need to do really quick. I'm going to create both the top and the bottom of the cutting board in this one file, and then just run the different toolpaths depending on what side is facing up on the CNC machine. And because I have everything right here centered on the job, all I have to do is make sure I have a known left side and bottom side reference points on the CNC machine, and then I can just flip it and cut the other side. So the first thing that's going to be cut is the bottom, which is the VCarve, and that's going to be VCarve, but I also want to have little points for the feet. So what I'm going to do is take this outside perimeter, we're going to hit offset, and we're going to go inwards by 0.5 inches, press offset. This puts this radius still, it creates that radius there. I want to have exact points. So somebody may know of a better way to do this, but for me, all I'm going to do is, well, first, what layer are we on? I'm going to take this piece right here that I have selected. I'm going to right click and say move to layer VCarve. And if I select that, is that still the perimeter? Did I put it on there? Yeah. I'm going to turn off the perimeter so I don't mess it up. So now we are on, we're messing with this, and I need to know the exact intersection of these straight lines before the radius. So what I'm going to do, there might be a better way to do this. I'm just going to draw a circle at 1 inch and just drop them in place real fast. They don't have to be perfect because what I'm going to do, what I'm using these circles for, press close, is to use the interactive trim to delete anything that's inside the circle. I'm trimming away these vectors. I'm trimming away that radius, basically. Press escape and use a window to only select these circles. A window means you're dragging left to right, which means you will only select things that are 100% inside the circle. And then now I can use this extend vectors to a common point of intersection. I love this tool. We can extend there and there, there and there, there and there. Now what this is doing, like I said, is just giving me an exact intersection that I can put the feet. So let's press close. While we're at it, we'll hold shift to select all of these. We'll go over here to join and join all of these into one closed vector. That way I can very easily delete it later. Press close. This gives me an endpoint that I can snap to. So let's go back to circle, change my diameter to 0.125, so it's just a 1/8 of an inch circle. And I want to make sure that I am on the VCarve layer because these circles are going to be VCarve, and these are just going to locate the feet. And I can just click at those exact intersections so everything is perfect and symmetrical and precise. Let's press close. Now I can select that vector, press delete, and that means every bit of this can be VCarved. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick with this toolpath. I will go to VCarve. I will set, actually it's already set up for me. My flat depth is 0.25 inches. The bit that I'm using, let's press edit so you can see my settings. It is a white side 1550 V-groove 60-degree half-inch diameter bit. That's my feeds and speeds. And we are going down, the pass depth is 0.375. However, I'll press OK, we are only going to a flat depth of 0.25 inches, which means we are using a flat area clearance tool, which I'll press edit so you can see my settings here. It's a white side RU. U stands for up. 2100 upcut, 1/4 inch end mill. And this is my preset for hardwood. So there's my settings there. Press OK. I get the best results by using a conventional cut, not a climb cut. Raster versus offset, I really don't care. I'll just set it with raster. We will ramp plunge. Sure, why not? And we're going to name this VCarve. That's okay. Press calculate. That'll give me 2 tool paths. These back and forth lines, as you can see, that's going to be the pocket cut. That's the flat bottom. And then the VCarve itself is the perimeter to give it a nice roll off or a nice chamfer from the top edge down to the bottom of that pocket. No need to preview that just yet, so let's press close, go back to 2D view, and I'll uncheck these tool paths so they don't get in the way. Now I can turn off VCarve. And you know what happened? These are not on the VCarve layer. So let's select those, right click, move to layer, VCarve. So now I can turn off VCarve and not mess with those. Turn on perimeter. That's going to be the profile cut. Before I do that, I want to cut the juice groove. So let's grab that and let's say offset. This one's going to go 0.75 inches in. Let's press offset. And what happened there? Close that. Let's oh, I'm on the VCarve layer. Okay, let's back up. My bad. I forgot to change layers here. Let's go back to perimeter. Turn VCarve off. So yeah, what layer is this on? Let's right click, move to layer. It is on perimeter. All right, I'm not going crazy. Let's go to offset, 0.75 inwards, offset. There we go. This is for the juice groove. And I can grab that, right click, move to layer, juice groove. So now at any time I can turn everything on and then get rid of the stuff that I don't want to see, which is kind of handy. So for the juice groove, all we need is, let's close, we need a profile toolpath. And you know what? I actually have this saved. So I'm going to press close, and you can save any one of these toolpaths at any time. If you do something that's repeated, then you can save all of your settings by save selected toolpath as a template. I've already done that. So let's grab the juice groove and let's open the toolpath template. And this is the juice groove. Let's press OK. And I get a ball juice groove. Let's double click just to verify we do have this selected, and you can see all of my settings. My cut depth for the juice groove is 0.2 inches. I am using a, well, that's the wrong settings, I think. Let's go with, where is it? This is the tool I'm using. It is a white side 1404 ball nose. It's 1/2 of an inch, and there's my feeds and speeds. Very easy. Press OK. That's going to cut the juice groove on the top. Press calculate. All those other settings look fine. That's fine. It's going to be one pass. And there you go. What else do we need on the top? We also need a profile cut to cut this out completely. And I'm not going to cut it completely. I'm going to cut a good bit of the depth, and then I'll trim out the rest at the router table. So from here, we can select just this outside perimeter. Let's close that, go to a profile toolpath. And for this profile, we're not using a ball nose. Instead, we're going to use a, let's see, we're using hardwood. I am going to sand the top, so I'll go ahead and use an upcut rather than a downcut. The white side RU2100 upcut for hardwood. We'll press OK. And my cutting depth here, it is 1 1/8 of an inch thick. There's no sense in using a bunch of passes on the CNC machine. We'll just go with 2 passes. So I think we can get 0.5 inches. That should be 2 passes. There you go. The machine vectors, this is important. We want to cut on the outside, and we want a conventional cut. Like I said, I get better results cutting with a conventional direction. And it's not all the way through, no tool paths. We can go ahead and ramp it in at an angle of 45 degrees, just so there is no plunge divots if the bit shifts to one side. And I'm going to name this one EM25, an end mill, 1/4 of an inch, 0.25 inches, just because that's what shows up in my controller on the CNC machine. Press calculate. So now we have these 2 being cut on the bottom, these 2 being cut on the top. So let's go ahead and we'll put some fill color in here so you can see the cuts and reduce the speed. On top, we will preview visible toolpaths. So the top, it's going to cut the juice groove a little bit slower than what I had anticipated here. I guess I can move this up a little bit. It's going to cut the juice groove and then a couple passes for the perimeter. It's not going to cut all the way through, like I said, as you can see right there. I'll cut this out on the bandsaw and flush it up. Just going to be quicker that way. Not necessarily quicker, but I don't want to cut all the way through this thing and then have to worry about tabs. Anyway, that's fine. This is the top side. Let's reset our preview and then select the bottom side here. Let's preview visible toolpaths, and you can see what it's going to do. That's the clearance tool making way for the V-bit. Once it's done, the V-bit will get the nice edges, or get the edges all nice, and then we will add these little dots for the feet. So when you combine those, top and bottom, we should have a really nice cutting board. So from here, I can select all of these and save my toolpaths to a flash drive, take it over to the machine, and cut it out. I'm going to cut the V profile first, and I have the bad side facing up. So this is the bottom of the board, and I do have to flip this to cut both sides, so I need to have some reference lines or something to reference off of to make sure that I have both the top and bottom line up with one another. So I've got a stop block down here that is set perfectly in line with the x-axis of the machine, and then I also have a grid cut into my wasteboard that is perfectly in line with both axes. In this case, I'll use this line on the y direction to line up this edge of the board, making sure to remain flush with the stop block. And so long as I hit this line right here, clamp it in place, I should be able to remain symmetrical or remain in the same position as I flip it for both the top and bottom cuts. So first up is the VCarve cut.